welcome everyone to the June meeting of the Technical Committee, which will be followed by the Congestion Management Committee at 10:15. And this meeting is already being recorded. If anyone online should experience difficulties during the meeting, please send a message in the chat box. At this time, I'd ask Ms. Rebecca Dybel to start the roll call to determine member participation. Rebecca?
Good morning.
Good morning.
City of Annapolis,
Present.
Anne Arundel County,
Here.
Baltimore City,
Present. Here.
Baltimore County,
Here.
Carroll County,
Here.
Harford County,
Here.
Howard County, Queen Anne's County.
Here.
Howard is here, sorry.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
Howard is here.
Oh, great, thank you. Thanks. MDOT,
Here.
Maryland Department of Environment,
Here.
Maryland Department of Planning,
Here.
MDOT MTA,
Here.
MDOT SHA. Thanks so much.
All right, that's great. Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the May minutes. We had the meeting on May 2nd. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? All right. May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
Queen Anne's County will make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Steve.
Baltimore City will second.
Oh, very good. Thank you. And so we have a motion on the table to approve the May minutes. So we'll now vote on approval of the minutes. Members may support the minutes by saying aye. Now members that are not in support may say nay, or well, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So members that support the minutes may say aye.
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 All right, members that are not in support of the minutes, please say nay. All right. Minutes are approved. We can move on to the action items. So the first item recommended for action is 2023-23. This is this resolution 2323. This for information on this resolution, which provides a refreshed data set to support the region's language assistance program and limited English proficiency. Ms. Regina Aris is going to introduce the resolution.
Thank you, Joel. And I do want to acknowledge that this task was supported by assistance from Zach Kaufman, Aaron Bolton, who is our GIS analyst, Shane Sarver helped out some, and Monica Haynes-Benketta helped out some. So this was a joint effort. And let's just start off. What is a language assistance program? It is something that we are required to do as part of the Title VI Civil Rights Act. And it is an effort to overcome discrimination against persons with limited English proficiency. And this term refers to individuals whose primary language is not English, and they also do not speak English very well. Just trying to come in. So the key to this whole task, as a recipient of federal funding, staff looks at this on behalf of the board, and there are 4 factors that must be considered. And we look at the number and proportion of limited English proficient individuals that are eligible in the service area. We look at the frequency with which they come in contact with us, the importance of the service, and the resources available. And we're going to spend some time on the number and proportion of persons. In terms of frequency, I have to report In the last 4 years since we previously did that, no one has requested translation or interpretation or sign language. So we don't have many individuals that come to us and need assistance. In terms of the importance of the service, this is not a hospital emergency room. It isn't, we don't have applications for social services or food support. These are not critical services, although all of us think a lot about transportation planning. This doesn't rise to the threshold of critical service. And then the resources available, we have some resources in our planning funds, but we tend to put most of that toward the planning process. So here we go. So based on those 4 factors, we do have low levels of participation. However, we want to encourage it. So we do look at Spanish language translation of our Title VI program, of our public participation plan, and we have translated the new public participation plan the board adopted last December. This limited English proficiency plan will be translated. We have an About the BRTB brochure available. We have translated the executive summary of Resilience 2050. We translate the Vulnerable Population Index, and we're going to be working on an executive summary for the TIP, so folks can understand that as well. So part of this plan, we look at what services are provided. I will say we tend to go with national firms because they have the ability to turn things around quickly, and in a competitive bid, they seem to do better. But we do also, actually, I asked Sean, we got the NAICS codes for firms that provide these types of services in the region. And Stephanie, who works at our front desk, reached out to every single one of those firms. And the pandemic did have an impact. There are fewer firms available than in the past. We do provide training to our staff. We have a display of languages at the front desk. Should someone come in and need assistance, they simply need to point to the language that they speak and we're able to connect them. We provide some of our advertisements, our notices of meetings. At the bottom of all of our agendas, you may notice that we have text in Spanish. And then we monitor our program and we update every 4 years. So the interesting part, the data is a lot of fun. The last time we did this, we used 2017 to 2021 ACS data. Actually, that's what we're using this time. Sorry. Get ahead of myself here. Last time we used 2012 to 2016. It's the 5-year estimates. We've updated that, and it's really interesting. This is for individuals in our region that speak English less than very well. And for the region, you can see Spanish is far and away the language most commonly spoken, but it still represents 1.61% of the population in the region, 44,866 individuals. So that's the largest share of individuals in our region, followed by Chinese, Korean, this language, Yoruba, Twi, Igbo. These are West African languages, and then Arabic. And this is a change from 4 years ago. At that time, Spanish was still first, but it was Korean, then Chinese, Russian, and then a group of Austro-Indonesian, like Far East languages. So there's a change in these top 5 languages in just 4-year period. Now, for each of your jurisdictions, I sent to everyone the full LEP plan, and you can see 32 different languages, but the top 5 for each of your jurisdictions Spanish followed by Chinese is the top 2 languages for every member in the region. And then 5 members are followed by Korean. And then after that, you'll see for Anne Arundel County, Gujarati, and I may not pronounce some of these, I apologize. That is from a state in India. And the Tagalog is from the Philippines. Baltimore City, it has this West African group, Arabic and French. Baltimore County, the West African group, Russian, and a group of languages associated with Nepal. Carroll County, we have the addition of Urdu, which is Pakistan and parts of South Asia, and Ilocano, which is from the Philippines, part of the Philippines. Harford County, we have those top 3. We have Vietnamese and then Tagalog. Howard County, we have, and I don't know the specific languages, but we have other Asian and then Telugu. And let's see. Telugu is primarily from 2 states in the country of India. And then Queen Anne's County, we have the introduction of Portuguese and Haitian. So it's really very interesting mix throughout the region. As I said before, in the region, Spanish accounts for 1.6%. That is below a threshold that would require the board to translate many documents and full documents. However, as staff, we've recommended to the board in the past, and we're recommending to you today, we will continue to translate either executive summaries or key documents, such as the public participation plan, routinely to make them available to individuals. We also, as part of this plan, we had a Google Translate button on our website, and it would translate the top 10 or 12 languages. We were able to update that, and folks speaking any of 158 languages that Google Translate will support can now translate anything that is web content. PDFs are not able to be translated with that tool, but you can open Google Translate separately and it will translate a PDF for individuals. So those were some changes that we made to the process this time. So that was the update to LEP. And I did want to share with folks the diverse variety of languages in our region. As I said, the document that was provided to you shows, I believe it was 58 languages. And so there's a great diversity in the region. So I'm going to conclude there and see if you have any questions.
And are there any questions on the LEP limited?
I have a question. This is Steve Cahoon with Queen Anne's County.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Does the Google Translate button track usage? Like, do you know how many users or how many people would have taken advantage of that compared to how many people may be requesting a written document?
Right. I don't offhand. I see Monica has joined the meeting. Monica, offhand, do you know? I don't believe that our website tracks that. Do you know? No, Steve, we'll check for you. We can ask our webmaster.
Just curious about the, how many people are utilizing. So, that's a different tool. So I was just wondering if we had a measure for that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's offered that the PDFs can be translated using Google Translate.
Right.
In the chat. And
Yeah, she mentioned Google Analytics. I will need to see if our webmaster, Candace, is able to track that. Sometimes you have to set up a special URL to track analytics, but what do I know?
there's been a lot of news about the potential negatives of the AI, but it's startling how good ChatGPT is at translating. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty good.
Mhm.
All right, well, this is an action item for us, everyone. So just to keep that in mind. So if you had any questions for that before we take a vote, we also have to check to see if any members of the public have any questions or comments on the resolution. Did we see anything in the chat?
Not currently, no.
Okay. No emails.
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, now we'll take a vote on approval of the resolution of the updated language assistance program limited if English proficiency plan. And so we'll do this with a roll call, everyone. So when you hear your name read, please indicate aye or nay. Rebecca's going to read down the list of members. Rebecca?
Annapolis,
Aye.
Anne Arundel,
Aye.
Baltimore City,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Harford County,
Aye.
Howard County,
Aye.
Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
and MDOT.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Now we'll move to a presentation. This is the Safe System Approach update. We're going to receive an update on this project with Cindy Birch, briefly discussing the safe streets and roads and all funding opportunities. So I'll turn it over at this time. It looks like we have the PowerPoint up. So Cindy, take it away.
Great, thank you. And good morning, everyone. It's nice to quote see everyone this morning. You may remember from almost this time last year, came to the committee to talk about a project, putting a project in the EPWP about the safe system approach. With everyone having local strategic highway safety plans, we wanted to incorporate some language and some concepts from this, as it is highly integrated into the federal transportation bill, into IIJA. So we were fortunate to be able to work with Nicole Waldheim and consultants at Burgess and Nyepel, Tool Design, and Fair and Peers to do this. So today we're just going to give an update on that. But this also, I believe, has supported several of you putting in for the federal funding of the Safe Streets and Roads for All that's coming down. The second round is ending on July 10th is the deadline. And I believe most of you around this table are putting in either to develop additions to your current SHSPs or to do some implementation projects. We had a few in the region awarded last year in round one. So we're really excited about round two and getting even more funding coming into the region for safety. So with that, I will pass it over to Nicole to give you the rundown. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Cindy. So good morning, everybody. Cindy already gave you some important context as to why we're doing this project. So today I'm going to focus on the key tasks that we've completed or are underway and just give you some insights into our key findings so far. So Cindy alluded to this, but nationally and in Maryland, crash trends really haven't seen sustained improvements. So there's been a lot of fluctuations and ups and downs over the year. And the goal is really to kind of go from this to start going more in the downward trend. So there's been a push to move away from business as usual when it comes to safety programs, and especially with all the safety related funding in the last transportation bill and the Safe Streets for All grants, the timing actually really aligned and it's been perfect to take a step back and think about different approaches to reduce severe crashes, which was a big part of this project. And one of those approaches and what we used was the safe system approach to frame the conversations. And so I know you've all have seen this wheel 100 times, so I'm not going to talk in too much detail about it, but essentially this is the safe system approach, and the principles in the outer ring are those fundamental beliefs of a safe system. And then the elements in the middle are essentially the implementers, the things that we're going to use to implement a safe system. And this isn't a whole new or different way of thinking. We didn't ask agencies to completely rework their plans and programs as part of this project. But what we did say is that this wheel, this safe system approach, it does provide us an important tool. It helps us think a lot more intentionally about addressing these things, these safe roads, safe road users, safe speeds, post-crash care, and safe vehicles in safety programs. So it adds value in that sense. However, again, part of this project, we felt like that wheel can be a bit esoteric. What do we do with this thing? And so the purpose of the BMC Safe System Approach project was really to understand the ways that wheel could be used by local agencies and really integrated into planning and programming. And the outcomes of this project, I'll talk about them. They're going to be essentially 3 resource documents that highlight the key opportunities to integrate the safe system approach into local agency functions, as well as consider and think about the gaps that exist and opportunities to overcome those. So here are the tasks and subtasks that were executed for this project, just to give you the big picture perspective, but I am going to focus specifically on 5 things today, kind of the most important things: the steering committee meetings, the 3 local agency workshops, the best practice review, the 3 case studies, and then the final guidance document. So first up is we did convene a steering committee as part of this project. I recognize a few of the names on this call today who are participants in the steering committee. So thank you for that, although your responsibilities are not quite done yet. But the steering committee did include representation from BMC, most of the local agencies in the region, MDOT, and Federal Highway. And as you can see, we've met twice, and our final meeting will be at the end of this month to discuss the contents in the draft guide. One of the biggest parts of this project, which took the most time and effort, was the workshops themselves. And we intentionally held these with the 3 agencies that we did, so we could get a good cross-section of what does safe system approach integration look like across rural, suburban, and urban areas. And we did work with the already established SHSP teams in these particular areas as the participants. Again, we're not creating this whole new thing. We wanted to work with things that are already in place and help kind of build upon successes in place. So at the workshop, we are trying to do 3 key things and really answer 3 questions. One is, how does your local agency align with the safe system principles and elements? What are you already doing to address these things? What are the opportunities that can be built upon to move closer to a safe system? So what are the things that are really going well that you want to keep doing and share with others that we should capture? And then lastly is what are the challenges? What are the things preventing you from addressing or implementing some of the things in the wheel? So that's really what we focused on in the 3 workshops. And you can see that to obtain the answers to those 3 questions, we structured it like this. So we essentially developed a set of benchmarks for those 5 elements. So the safe roads, safe road users, safe speeds, post-crash care, and safe vehicles. We also developed benchmarks for equity and culture. And you can see an example here of the speed-related benchmarks. And so we said to participants, we said, look, these are the things that you could be doing to help you get to, in this example, safe speeds. So of these, what are an institutional practice? What are you already doing that you feel like you're doing well and you want to build upon? What are the things that are occasional practice? Maybe you could spend a little bit more time on them or rethink how you're doing them. And then not shown here, we also ask people, what are the things that are just not a current practice? What are the things that are your biggest gaps that you really want to address to further integrate the safe system approach into your plans and programs? And so after we kind of got that assessment from people of where they stood in terms of addressing all of these elements, we did ask them to prioritize the areas they wanted to continue and grow and build upon to address a gap. And then after we assessed the priority level of these benchmarks, we did all work together to develop priority action items for the local SHSP teams to execute or implement moving forward. So the next 3 slides really provide a snapshot from each of the 3 local workshops of the successes or the areas they wanted to keep growing, as well as the gaps to address moving forward. And you can see the successes are on the left underneath the stars, and then the challenges are on the right. And you'll see across all these slides that all 3 agencies are addressing a lot of the benchmarks or the components or the things that go into a safe system, which is really good. There's a lot of good practices in place already, and things that can be shared. And there are some consistent challenges and gaps that we actually saw across all 3 workshops. So you can see here, hopefully you've been reading as I've been talking, where Baltimore County landed on some of the things that they feel like they're doing well, as well as some of the challenges. Equity came up a couple of times, agency coordination and messaging and engagement came up quite a bit too. And you'll see that in the next 2 slides. So this is Baltimore County. Here are the big picture results from Carroll County, again, doing a good job with addressing the safe system approach elements, but again, mentioned, integrating the equity component into their safety processes and trying to think of new ways to engage the public on safety were some of their priorities. And then lastly, Baltimore City, again, they had a whole different set of successes in an urban area and things that are really going well for them related to their safety program. And then again, on the right, you're still seeing some consistency across some of the challenges with meaningful coordination, just bandwidth and resources to be able to do data collection and analysis and just awareness of staff and things like that. So those are kind of the big picture results from the 3 workshops. So from those workshop summaries, again, we identified what are the consistent trends or the challenges that local agencies are really facing to address safety more holistically in their programs. And you can see those challenges are summarized and listed on the slide. So what we wanted to do is we said, all right, we recognize that these are the biggest hurdles. So we wanted to provide examples from agencies across the country who are already addressing these specific things in their safety program. So we developed a best practice memorandum and it's structured around these topics. And so each of the challenges that you see here in the best practice memo has an associated table with it. And the table includes the name of the best practice resource. It includes a resource description. It includes the resource link. It talks about what challenges the resource addresses, but then I think most importantly is it talks about how that particular resource can address this particular challenge. Again, so it's something that local agencies here can go to and see how some of their peers across the country are integrating and addressing these things in their plans and programs. And I would say that each of these challenges that we identified has about 5 to 10 best practice resources associated with it. So a lot of options in there. And then another core deliverable of this project is under development right now, very close to being finished, and that's the development of the 3 case studies. You can see the 3 that were selected here, and you can see why these were chosen. Ultimately, these agencies have really been able to integrate several of the safe system principles and elements into their program. So we wanted to showcase these because they do present a holistic safe system approach adoption in the plans and programs. And I will say there's actually a few examples, maybe more than a few in Maryland that we were looking to for the case studies. But when we met with the steering committee, we actually decided to go outside of Maryland and look for case studies in different parts of the country because people felt like they knew what was going on here. So I don't want to diminish all the good work that's already happening here. There are several case studies in place that we could have pulled from. And then the last core deliverable, which we are writing right now, is the guidebook. And you can see on the left here the content that's going to be included. We really anticipate this to be a concise document that focuses on what are the adoptable strategies and actions to really integrate the safe system approach into your plans and your programs. And all of this information is pulled from what we learned in the workshops, as well as what we've been learning from the best practice summary. And so again, we hope to have kind of a start to finish of, if you're really thinking about where you are with the safe system approach and want to address that even further, we hope that this guide will help walk you through that process. So just in summary, some of the next steps is the best practice memo is complete. It's just being formatted to be consistent with the other key deliverables that we're developing. The 3 case studies are going to be, the drafts will be complete this week, and we'll start reviewing them and get those laid out. The draft guidelines we're working on right now. And then, as I mentioned earlier, steering committee meeting 3, the last steering committee meeting, will be in late June. So that's just the quick overview of the project we've been working on for the last 7 or 8 months, but happy to take questions, and I'm sure Cindy's happy to take some questions too.
All right. Anybody have any questions or guidance on suggestions on the manual that they're putting together? All right.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. All right. So now we'll move on to the UPWP activities. So we'll have 3 reports, starting out with Zach discussing Resilience 2050. Then we'll go to the Maryland Travel Survey update and report from the nominating committee. So we'll switch to Zach when he's ready.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
Thanks. So just a brief update on the public comment period for Resilience 2050, and that also includes the 24 to 27 tip and the air quality conformity determination. So there are a variety of public comment period materials that we've created to support the public comment period, which runs through Tuesday, June 20th. We're really guiding all activity towards our public input site, publicinput.com/resilience2050. So I'll go to that real quick. Won't go through all of that, but anyway, there's a summary of the documents. There are download links to each individual chapter, as well as the entire document for the LRTP, the TIP, and the air quality assessment. Summary of public meetings, which you're all familiar with, and a way to share your thoughts. We have quite a few comments that have already come in, and we're continuing to compile those. There's also a link on that public input site to our story map, which is what we're using for the public meeting presentations. I think staff and GIS staff in particular did a really great job making this really visually compelling, and it kind of summarizes the process for all 3 documents very well. We've also created interactive maps, which are embedded into the story map for the TIP and the LRTP. So anyway, there's a lot to explore there, but the central portal for that is publicinput.com/resilience2050. In terms of meetings, we've already held meetings in Carroll County, Wednesday, May 31st. We also had a virtual public meeting on May 24th, which is posted on that Resilience 2050 public input site. Harford County was last night, and this week is pretty busy. We have meetings upcoming in Anne Arundel tonight, Baltimore County tomorrow, and Queen Anne's County on Thursday, followed by Baltimore City and Howard County to close it out next week. Meeting structure. So these will be open house style. We're bringing a lot of different maps and posters and local and regional project lists for people to look at. We'll have a short presentation from the BRTB representative when most people have arrived. Regina shared cue sheets for those presentations last week, so please email us if you haven't received those presentation materials or if you have any questions. Other than that, we'll look forward to seeing you all at meetings over the next several days.
That's great. Thanks for the update.
Sure.
Any questions on Resilience 2050?
Do you guys have any information, David, here from Howard County, information on attendance that you guys have been having?
Well, there were a number of people at the virtual meeting, but the Carroll and Hartford meetings were not well attended.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think there were 3 people at the Carroll meeting, and unfortunately, I'm not sure anyone came to the Hartford County meeting.
Yeah. Dave will turn them out in Howard.
That's right.
Yeah, we're cranking on trying to get people there.
We do have a lot of advertisements running on social media and digital and print. So, and we've seen a lot of reposting activity. So hopefully we get a number of people out at the rest of them.
All
Can I
right.
make a public comment regarding that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that might help with regards to engagement is it seems like just given the timeline, there's the month where it's basically available for comments, and then it seems like, I don't know exactly what it is. I think it's like the next month there's a vote on whether or not, especially the long range plan, should be a go or not. So from a public standpoint, it doesn't seem like what's the chances that anything's really going to substantially change about the preferred alternative? It would seem that in order for the public's input to really have a chance to really have an impact, there would need to be a bigger gap in between the end of the comment period and the vote, because if there was an opportunity, if there was a chance that substantial changes would really, be incorporated, there would need to be more time to incorporate those changes. So I don't think it's necessarily made clear that, of what the chances are that public comment will have an effect. I think the kind of sense is that by the time it's published, I mean, it's a very polished document. It's a done deal. I don't think people really have a feeling that anything they say is really going to have a substantial change. There might be some like verbiage changes in the document, but I don't think that's what people are looking for.
As Michael, I'm not sure if that was your comment or not during the review of the public participation plan, but someone made a similar comment then. And for every single vote, no matter if it's a long range plan or a limited English proficiency, if there are comments that our board members want to address, they will. And we would then need to put the document back out for another review, and a vote would be delayed. That in fact has happened. Board members dropped highway projects and added a transit project. There have been changes, but should that not happen, we're not going to say, well, let's wait 4 months before we plan a vote in case. But at any time, if more time is needed, the board would direct staff to take that time. And I think we said that in our public participation plan. And I would hope that when we meet with people, that's what we say to them. So it's a shame if people feel that way, but we do spend a lot of time trying to educate people, trying to meet with them in the community. And then the decision makers weigh in. So I hear you.
No, that's a great comment. Thank you, Regina. That's very helpful. I think, if that's being stated verbally at the meetings, I think that's great. But maybe if that was put a little more out front before, at the invites for the meetings to make clear that, oh, you really can have a significant impact here. I think maybe making that a little more obvious so people don't have to, wait until they get to the meeting to make that commitment. Maybe that would entice them to make that commitment even to attend. That's possible.
We will absolutely no. Thank you for that. And I know Joel as the chair is listening to you, and we will make a concerted effort to do better.
Yeah, thank you very much, Regina. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, not to diminish the comment, but it's hard to compete with a lovely mild day with a long hours of sunshine. I think sometimes it's just hard to get people in to the meetings. Alrighty, well, are there any other comments or questions? All right. Well, now we'll queue up Robert's slides for the update on the Maryland travel survey. Robert's going to talk today about travel by taxi and private car in the Baltimore region. All right, I see the slides.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
That's great. Okay, good morning. My name is Robert Berger, and I work in BMC's data analysis group. I'm also the manager of BMC's household travel survey, which became the Maryland Travel Survey, or MTS. Today, I will be sharing the results of a study of travel by taxi and private car. And FYI, private car service means a private company, for example, a limousine service, or a driver who drives his or her own car. Uber, Lyft, and rideshare are something completely different and are not covered in this study. FYI, this is a demographic analysis, and the results are presented for the Baltimore region rather than individual jurisdictions, which is my usual practice. It was my judgment that doing both a demographic analysis and a jurisdictional analysis would have produced an overwhelming amount of detail that it would have obscured rather than revealed the study results. Okay, first I'll describe who is riding taxis and private car services by age group, household income, and race and ethnicity. Next, I'll describe the trip purposes that taxis and private car services are used for. Finally, I will take your questions and comments, which I ask you to please hold until the end of the presentation. Okay. The largest shares of taxi and private car riders are those 45 to 64 years old at 44.2%, and 65 years or older at 25.5%. The next largest shares of taxi and private car riders are those 18 to 44 years old at 16.3%, and 5 to 12 years old at 10.9%. The 5 to 12-year-olds may be accompanying their parents. Smaller shares of taxi and private car riders include teenagers 16 to 17 years old at 1.6%, and teenagers 13 to 15 years old at 1.5%. And as usual, I'm providing summary slides, so you have what I've just said. Okay. The largest share of taxi and private car riders are those with the lowest incomes, less than $15,000, at 25.8%. The next largest shares are those with household incomes $25,000 to $34,999 at 24.1%, and 15,000 to 24,999 at 23.7%. Smaller shares are represented by those with household incomes 100,000 to 149,999 and 35,000 to 49,999. The remaining smaller shares of taxi and private car riders have incomes 50,000 to 74,999 at 5%, and 150,000 or more, 3.1%, and 75,000 to 99,999, 3.0%. Okay. And that's your summary slide, which I will not repeat. And that's another summary slide. All right. So the largest share of taxi and private car riders are African Americans, Blacks at 67.9%. The next largest shares of taxi and private car riders are whites at 25.7% and Hispanics at 5%. A smaller share of taxi and private car riders are Asian at 1.4%. And there were no taxi and private car riders found in the following groups: multiracial, 0%, American Indian, Alaskan Native, 0%, and Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, 0%. And again, there's a summary slide. All right, bear with me just a second. Okay, the largest share of taxi and private car trips are for personal, business, and other tasks at 42.5%. The second largest share of taxi and private car trips are for shopping and meals. The third largest share of taxi and private car trips are for work at 18.1%. And the fourth largest share of taxi and private car trips are for school at 13.2%. And finally, the fifth largest share of taxi and private car trips are for social and recreation. And that was a quick one. I'm done. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
All right. Any questions on the travel survey update? Well, Robert, thank you once again.
My pleasure.
All righty. Now we're switching over to Dave Cookson to give us an update on the nominating committee.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Thank you. So this is an update from the nominating committee. So the two members of the nominating committee, Dan Janicek and I, hold various members of the technical committee to serve as the vice chair and the chair. And Dan should be able to weigh in as well. So we did find one person who agreed to be nominated to serve as the vice chair, and also one person to serve as the chair. Dan, if you're online, can you give us the information on the vice chair who was nominated? And
Oh, sure. So, yeah, we look back at the history of the chair, vice chairs on the technical committee, and looks like everybody's sort of served, and the folks who were up for serving, or could be considered for serving, who haven't served in a while. I think we've got some new folks. So we asked Annapolis, we asked Kwaku if you want to serve again. He's declined because there's some changes going on there, and we asked the city, but they've got some new staff there as well. We reached out to Carroll County. They're changing over, so Mary won't be able to serve as I guess we're talking about chair of the technical committee. Sorry, David.
It's okay.
I don't
So-
really have much to add about the vice chair. So go
Okay.
ahead. What was on your mind?
So can we get some guidance from staff on how, since we've identified two people who would
Well,
like to serve, how do we go about the process now? on this?
so what you say is the nominating committee offers the following slate, and you nominate based on the organization or jurisdiction, not a person's name.
Okay,
And all we're doing today is offering the slate. The vote will be next month.
okay. Sorry, I lost my notes. Just 1 second. I'm sorry. So, sorry, 1 second.
I don't want to crowd you, David. Would you like me to assist?
Yeah, go ahead and do it because I lost track of my notes.
Okay, no problem. So the nominating committee made a number of calls, and the slate of officers for FY 2024 for chair, we're offering Maryland Department of Transportation, and for vice chair, Baltimore County. In July, we'll take nominations from the floor and then a vote. And at that point, the new chairman takes over the July meeting. So thank you to the nominating committee for the calls that you made.
Oh, thank you, Regina.
Thank you, Regina, and hopefully, thanks for helping guide us through this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, making the connections, and thank you for those that were able to respond in the affirmative. So we'll look forward to taking that vote at the July 5th meeting. And so that does take us out to the end of the UPWP activities. And so now we're moving to other business. So as I mentioned, the next technical committee meeting will be on July 5th. And this is an in-person meeting, so double check your calendar and make sure you have it noted as an in-person meeting. This will be also joint with interagency consultation group. So is there any other business that anyone would like to raise for today's technical committee meeting? All righty. So hearing no other business, I'll ask for a motion and a second to close the meeting. So a motion to close the meeting.
Queen Anne's County will make a motion to close the meeting.
Thank you, Steve. And a second.
Howard County seconds.
Thank you, David.
Okay, thank you. I am going to stop the recording. We're going to wait 10 seconds and then Eileen will begin recording again.
All right.